Greetings from Team Diverse. Today we will be presenting our personal digital stories. We hope you will enjoy listening to our personal experiences. Thank you. Our team, Team Diverse, will be presenting 5 different digital stories. First up is Mehmet Demirkul, discrimination at Walmart. Second, Hannah Patrick, racism in Honduras. Third, Roberto Alador, racism in the cinema. Fourth, Kate Quittemeyer, racism in Montreal. And finally, Danny Alvarez, classifying skin color and race. What are we talking about today? Well, today, Team Diverse, a team built of very diverse people ranging from white to mixed to black, and from all over the world, we'll be talking about skin color and what you wear. Skin color and what you wear are very important values in describing and defining someone. Thus, it is very important when talking about racism or discrimination that we must consider these values when looking at how people perceive each other. Finally, by sharing our experiences, we would like to show you how these perceptions affect people's outcomes. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy our digital stories. Hello, my name is Mehmet Emre Kuoğlu. You can call me Emre for short. I will be talking about discrimination at Walmart. Walmart is one of the biggest superstores in the United States. Walmart is known to be fair and just with all of its employees and customers. But throughout the time I have been shopping at Walmart, I have observed something different when exiting Walmart with my merchandise. When exiting Walmart, an employee greets you at the door. At random, they select people to check their receipts and merchandise. Although it is supposed to be at random, I have found something peculiar that makes it seem merchandise checks are not random. Whenever I exit Walmart, I have found that the merchandise and receipt checks are not random. When I would exit with my sister, which wears a headscarf because we practice Islam, we would always be pulled aside for a merchandise and receipt check to make sure we are not stealing anything. Strangely enough, this always happens when I am with my mom or sister, which both wear a headscarf. I, on the other hand, when alone, have never received a merchandise or receipt check at Walmart. Furthermore, I have found that Walmart employees do not only discriminate against Islamic people, but they also discriminate against other races. For example, when the employee at the door is either white or Hispanic, they tend to pull over black people way more often than they do pull over whites. Although Walmart is a great place to shop at, I feel that discrimination is not at the top of their agenda. In other words, customers might not feel discrimination, but when looked closer, when observed closer, you can see that there is forms of discrimination that is persistent in Walmart. Although we might not be able to do anything right away, we can at least try to warn the employees to not discriminate against someone just because of their skin color or what they wear. Thank you for listening to my story. Up next is Hannah Patrick and racism in Honduras. Thank you.
In April 2010, I decided to travel to Honduras to visit my family on spring break. Upon arriving in Honduras, it was immediately clear that people were judging me simply based on my skin color. In Honduras, the police were constantly pulling me over on my trip, harassing me and asking me for money before they would let me leave. My friends and family that were of a different skin color did not have to deal with these same issues. My hope is that one day people will become more educated and realize that race is simply a social construct people have created, and it's not genetically evident in humans.
Thank you for listening. Up next is Roberto Alador and racism in the cinema.
This is the digital story of Roberto Alador, narrated by Roberto Alador, who just so happens to be me. Hey, yo, Roberto. What's up with that Hispanic name, bro? Interesting, I was raised in Miami and my first name happened to be Roberto, but I am not Hispanic. My parents were born and raised in Haiti, the island of Haiti, which would make me a Haitian American. But that still leads to the original question. What's up with that quote-unquote Hispanic first name? The simple answer is when I asked my mom is she liked the way the name sound and promised herself that she would name her first son Roberto if given the opportunity. Well, she had the opportunity and I was her first son, so the name stuck. The incident occurred at the premiere of the Lord of the Rings movie. I remember watching this movie and being so excited about what I was seeing that I just had to get closer to the movie experience. So I scoot up a little bit forward in my chair at the theaters and threw my arms over the vacant chair in front of me. And immediately I knew something was wrong. As I looked to my right, this white man started looking to his left, angered. And I had a feeling something was wrong. And I heard a voice in the back of my head say, "Robert, look down." Sure enough, when I looked down, this guy's phone, keys, and wallet were literally inches away from my hands. Angrily, he snatched them up and looked forward. I remember sitting back in my chair, embarrassed and angered, thinking, wow, what the heck just happened?
Thank you for listening. Up next is Katie Quittemeyer and Racism in Montreal.
Hello, I'm Kate Quitmeyer, and this is my personal experience with race and racism. As we learn through our course, there are many factors that can separate us on a racial scale, including physical appearance, language, and customs. Recently, I went to Montreal, Quebec, Canada, for the American Anthropological Association's 110th meeting. This is one of the largest anthropology meetings, and people from all over the world come together during this time to present their research to one another. Needless to say, the people that call Montreal home were well aware of the sudden diversity present in the city. Montreal is mostly French-speaking, but everyone seems to know at least a little English. Montreal is the second largest French-speaking city right under Paris, France. At first glance, natives seem to look a lot like people from home, but as I studied the faces that I came in contact with, I noticed that they were mostly dark-haired, dark-eyed, with a very light skin tone. I hardly saw any blondes or people with blue eyes while I was there. As I explored the city or conversed with the people in shops, I noticed that I would get looks from the natives there. My lighter brown hair, blue eyes, and lack of knowledge of French caused me to stick out more than I expected. As I walked around, I smiled at people that passed me, and I found that they wouldn't smile back. Instead, they would look around and see what I was so happy about. One incident that I had while I was there was with a cab. When the driver tried to speak with me in French, I responded in English and apologized for not being able to speak in French. Since he knew I wasn't from around the area, he ended up taking me a longer distance than needed to my destination, charging me way more for my fare. Although I had one incident, everyone seemed to be more understanding as I spoke with them and got to know them. The biggest issue of division in this case was the language barrier and a slight difference in physical appearance.
Thank you for listening. Up next is Danny Alvarez and Classifying Skin Color and Race.
Having grown up in a Latino home of Colombian heritage, I have never felt I had a racial identity. Although I've always been told I was white because both my parents have light skin, I have never accepted this as truth. My reason for never having felt white is that I have a darker skin tone than what is typically categorized as white. My dark, tan skin has always made it easier for me to identify simply as a Latino, but never as an actual race, despite my family's claims that we are white. Something that has always bothered me is the fact that students are required to identify their race on standardized tests. It has constantly been an unsettling feeling to look at the options given and not have a race that I specifically identify with. When given the option of ethnicity, however, I always bubble in Hispanic Latino. With regards to race, I am not white, African American, Native American, Asian, or Pacific Islander. Rather, I believe that there's a mixture of races in my gene pool. The reason I feel strongly about this issue is because I don't believe that people in the United States are looked at as white unless they have white skin. In elementary and middle school, the majority of my classmates were Hispanic, but had white skin. I am Hispanic, but I look everything but white. When I was a child, all of the heroes and protagonists of the cartoons I would watch and in the comics I would read were white. And that often left me with a feeling that I was, in a sense, out of place in this country. It's not that I felt resentment at the fact that the heroes were predominantly white. Instead, I just hoped that more ethnicities would be represented in the cartoons, comics, and other forms of entertainment viewed by so many children. Currently, there is more diversity in the comic books and cartoons that children watch. With heroes like Jaime Reyes, a Mexican teen, as the Blue Beetle, and Miles Morales, a half-black, half-Hispanic high school student as the new Spider-Man, a diversity of ethnicities are being gradually included in media forms such as comic books followed by children and young adults. This shows that instead of having one group of people representing many, modern American society is shifting to a more inclusive representation of diversity. After learning through this class that races are socially constructed, I am hopeful that the idea of races will soon become a complex of the past. The diversity of the people of the world should be what invites them to work together, as opposed to leading them to derive flaws in each other's differences. Race is not biological, and although there is still a long way to go before it is not a determinant of privilege, I believe that we will eventually reach that end.
Thank you again for listening to us. We hope you enjoyed our stories. Have a great day.